The 7 universal mental factors. Sabha means all, Sata means consciousness, and Sadharana means common. These 7 kinds of universal mental factors are common to all types of consciousness. In other words, whatever consciousness arises, these 7 universal mental factors arise together, all the time. That's why we call them Sabhachita. These 7 universal mental factors are invariably found in every type of consciousness. All 7 are found in every type of consciousness. We'll be studying these one by one. 1. Phassa, contact. The characteristic of phassa is touching. Touching here doesn't mean that two things touch each other. We're talking about mental contact. When an object presents to consciousness, for example, a visible object presents to eye consciousness, or a sound presents to ear consciousness, contact arises. How do we know contact arises? You hear me, right? Who hears? Not you. It's not a man or a woman. It is ear consciousness that hears. It's not a person. According to Abhidhamma, it is just ear consciousness that hears. For ear consciousness to occur, we need 3 essential things. Eye consciousness. If we don't have mind, i.e., we're dead, then we can't hear. We must have consciousness. E. Sound. E. Ear sensitivity. When these 3 things make contact, phassa arises. Let's look at some examples to help us better understand what phassa means. Someone takes a bite of a piece of sour fruit, like a lemon. As we watch this happen, saliva forms in our own mouth. This is mental contact. The lemon hasn't touched our own mouth, but there has been mental contact. As another example, we might go to the circus and see someone walking on a tightrope high up in the air. As we watch the performer walk the tightrope, there's contact. Maybe our leg shakes in nervousness at what they are doing. See? These are examples of contact, phassa, or touching. It is mental, and then our body responds. 2. Vedana, feeling. We experience feeling a lot, right? Feeling may be pleasurable, painful, or neutral. When you sit in a chair, how do you feel? Comfortable? You may feel pleasure or perhaps a neutral feeling. But after you sit there for about 15 minutes, you might have to move. Why? Because a painful feeling has arisen. So then you move and your painful feeling goes away. You now feel comfortable again. Vedana is not physical, it is only mental. It is a mental factor, but some people think that feeling is bodily. It is not matter, it is a mental factor. When feeling arises, it's not the only mental factor. There are many concomitants that also arise, right? We're talking about the 7 universal mental factors, right? So why do they call one of them feeling? It's because the other 6 universal mental factors cannot feel the object. It is feeling that fully enjoys the object. Feeling is the leader, the head, like a master who enjoys a dish prepared by a cook. The cook only prepares then presents the food to the master. It is the master who fully enjoys it. Vedana is like this. 3. Sanya, perception. Perception enables one to recognize an object by way of a mark. This is blue, this is red, this is yellow. This is sanya or perception. Sanya memorizes something. Vijnana, e.g., Cakkuvijnana, or eye consciousness, is consciousness. Consciousness knows the object, and wisdom, panya, knows the object in a deeper way. How are these 3 different? Sanya knows, this is Mr. Smith, or, this is Miss Jones. Vijnana knows the person, and panya knows how the people are different. We have to use examples to understand the difference between sanya, vijnana, and panya. Sanya is like the mere perception of gold. When a child sees a yellow thing, he might know it is gold because he has learned what gold looks like. He sees the yellow object and thinks that it's gold. He may look at a ring on your finger and recognize that it's gold. This is mere perception. The child just knows it is gold, but he doesn't know its value. Vijnana, on the other hand, is comparable to an ordinary man's knowledge of gold. If you're out shopping and see someone drop their ring on the ground, you might know that it's gold and that you could probably pick it up and sell it for $100 or $200. A child doesn't know this much about the ring. You know more than the child, but you don't know enough to know the ring's exact value. This is like Vijnana. Panya is like the analytical knowledge of a goldsmith. A goldsmith knows gold in much detail. Maybe you have some gold but don't know its value, so you go to a jewelry store and let them look at it and determine the value. This is like the goldsmith in this example. So this is how sanya, vijnana, and panya differ. Some people have good memorization. But sanya and panya are quite different, right? When you pass your examinations in school and get your degree, you may have good memorization of your studies but may not have wisdom. We should know that good sanya is not good panya. Panya knows whether something is good or bad, wholesome or unwholesome. If you can classify things in this way, this is wisdom. And as you know that something is good, you do good things. This is Panya. But Sanya, on the other hand, just memorizes. You might have 2 or 3 college degrees but not understand the difference between wholesome and unwholesome. You might spend your time drinking alcohol and hunting. This is not wisdom. So, Sanya is a universal mental factor. Even unwholesome consciousness is associated with Sanya. And so is Arahata Magga Sata and Arahata Phala Sata. Sanya arises there too. It is present in wholesome consciousness, unwholesome consciousness, resultant consciousness, and functional consciousness. 4. Satana, volition. Volition is the most significant mental factor in mundane, Lokya, consciousness. We have Lokya and Lokutra, right? Mundane refers to the sensual sphere, the form sphere, and the formless sphere. So, volition is the most significant mental factor in Lokya. Why? Mundane thoughts lead to the accumulation of kama. In other words, volition associated with sense sphere consciousness, form sphere consciousness, and formless sphere consciousness accumulates kama. It exists even in functional consciousness, but it doesn't have accumulative power there. When this type of consciousness arises, Satana does too, but there's no reaction. But this type of consciousness is mainly just for arahants. Even resultant consciousness has kama, but it doesn't have accumulative power there either. Only wholesome and unwholesome consciousness can create kama. We often talk in terms of good and bad kama, right? What's bad kama? When Satana arises in unwholesome consciousness, it is bad kama. If it arises in beautiful wholesome consciousness, then it is good kama. Satana is like a chief disciple. A chief disciple is very engaged in doing something. Following the chief disciple's leadership, his colleagues do their duties. In the same way, volition coordinates the mental states associated with it. Right now, for instance, as I teach, you are trying to remember what I'm saying, so you try to pay attention and understand. This is Satana, and as you memorize what I'm teaching, this is Sanya. See? Satana is like the chief disciple. So, kama is Satana, and Satana is kama, they are the same. When we say kama, it means Satana. We have good Satana and bad Satana, good kama and bad kama. 5. Ekagata, one-pointedness of mind. We saw this when we talked about jhana, right? Ekagata is one of the factors of jhana. It is one-pointedness of mind. It concentrates on one object. It is focusing the mind on one object. Whatever you do, there is ekagata. This is ordinary ekagata, though. When it is highly cultivated and developed, it can become a factor of jhana. It can also become part of the Noble Eightfold Path, as right. Concentration. Concentration is ekagata. I've already told you about the simile of ekagata. It is like the steady flame of a lamp kept in a windless place. When there's no wind and we light a candle, the flame is very steady, right? This is ekagata. 6. Jivatindriya, life faculty. Perhaps you've noticed this word when we do the patana chanting. It refers to life faculty. We have 2 kinds of life. When referring to mental states, there is Jivatindriya. When we refer to material properties, which we'll study later, there is physical life. So, we have psychic life, life faculty, and physical life. For now, we're talking about psychic life. Psychic life sustains or controls its co-associates, consciousness, and other mental factors. Although they associate together, the function of life faculty is to sustain and control its concomitants. Life faculty is like a boatman. A boatman depends on a boat to cross from one side of a river to the other. But the boat also depends on the boatman. Expressed another way, if you drive someone somewhere, you also reach that place. So, Jivatindriya controls itself. It can be compared to a boatman. 7. Manasikara, attention. This is turning the mind toward the object. We can compare it to a charioteer sitting and paying close attention to 2 well-trained horses. So, we have these 7 sabachitasadharana cetasika, or universal mental factors. These 7 are common to every type of consciousness. Now, we go to Pakanaka, the 6 occasional mental factors.